Okay, so welcome to Planetary Annihilation. Now today I'm actually going to be casting a game that I played against Matisse, who hasn't been on PA for quite a while, but when he was on playing Planetary Annihilation, he was definitely one of the best players there was. So I would have recorded this as I actually played it, but I just wasn't fast enough, so that didn't happen. I'm going to fast forward to when we actually spawn in. I'm in the purple, and Matisse is in the orange. So let's stick it on 1 speed. So I started, as you can see, I started with a bot factory, and Matisse started with vehicles. That probably changed the game quite a lot. Matisse also went with a lot more fabbers than I did. I think he got up 3 fabbers with his first factory, whereas I just went 1. And you can see we both went for two metal extractors before our second factory, except yeah, Matisse is already getting up his second fabber there, fabrication vehicle. And we both went second there, which is, in the current build, probably the best thing that you can do. You really need to get the air up early. But as you'll see, Matisse went completely fighters. I don't think he had a single bomber. He built 1 scout plane at the beginning, but after that he went completely fighters. Whereas I went a bomber first to try and get a early fabricator kill. And if I'd managed that, then it would probably have changed the outcome of the game quite a lot, because as you can see, he's got these 2 fabbers grouped up for quite a while. They're splitting up now, actually. But they weren't too protected. And as you can see here, he scouted my bomber. So now, as soon as he gets these fighters up, he's going to know that my bomber is going to try and kill these fabricators. So yep, as you can see, sends his fighter right over to where his fabricator is, and stops me from getting that fabber kill, which was very nice from him. Now as you can see, I'm switching up to vehicles now, after I've got my 2 bot factories, and Matisse has got nearly 10 more metal than I do, but that's just because of his higher fabricator start. As you can see, once I've got my extra 2 fabricators up with this 4th vehicle factory, I'll probably start catching up on the metal front of things. One of my problems in this game was that Matisse went solely tanks, and I went early docks, and the trading with docks to tanks is just terrible. Like one tank can take out a ridiculous amount of docks if you micro them properly. As you can see here, I'm building up some more fighters and bombers, so I'll probably send those in and try and take out another fabber at some point. But Matisse does have quite a few fighters patrolling around here. And he's actually got an idle commander. He did say at the beginning of the game that he hadn't played this game for about 4 months, but as you can see here, he's floating metal and energy, and he's got an idle commander, so he obviously hadn't been playing the game very much. Now here, look, I've got a bomber coming in on that fabricator, and that is a massive win. We have still very early game, and that fabber kill stopped him getting up a radar, which in turn helps me get these docks in and do a bit of extra damage with them, because he didn't have that radar up, which he should have done really at that point. And now I've got an idle commander. Oh no, I am actually doing something with it. So there you go. I can actually. Oh, there's his other fabber right there. Looks like he's going to send it down here, maybe try and get this big group of metal. And you can see I am actually coming up on a metal extractor here with those docks. Very much helped by his lack of radar there. And with a little bit of micro, because he's gone so heavy fighters and hardly any bombers, I was actually able to get 1 metal extractor kill with these docks, then micro them away from those bombs, and actually get another metal extractor kill, which is pretty ridiculous with these 5 docks that I've got here. He actually gave up at that point. Just decided to go somewhere else with his bombers, but there you go. And he sent his tanks in at that already, so those docks here weren't going to be any more of a problem. Am I going to get a fabricator kill here? No, he did actually keep it out of my vision. If I had gone in and scouted a bit more of his base, I could have got a second fabricator kill there. Now at this point you can see I've got a couple of extra air factories that are just spamming fighters because I've seen how heavy fighters he's going, so I know that my bombers are going to be useless if I don't do anything about that. And I have caught up on metal. I've actually overtaken him on metal with this little fabricator that I've sent out, getting metal extractors outside of my triangle of the map, whereas Matisse has only just started trying to get any metal that isn't inside his triangle. So at the moment you can see I am not really floating metal very much. It's staying at around 0, and I've got nearly twice as much metal. Well, not quite, but there you go. So yeah, I do have a lot more units than him, but the problem that I've got here is that all of my units are docks, or the majority of them anyway. I didn't switch over to tanks soon enough, whereas Matisse started with tanks right from the beginning. So most of my units now are pretty much useless, because they can't do any significant type of anti-air, and he has got a massive air force. And trading docks for tanks is just the worst idea you'll ever have, ever. So you never want to be doing that. You never want to be in a situation where you've got a lot of docks and the enemy's got a lot of tanks. And you can see here I'm sending a fabricator up to try and get this group of metal extractors here. In this ranked map that they've got, this area here is very, very important, because as you can see there's a lot of dense metal extractors, so winning this area over can be very, very good for you. It can mean you've got a lot more metal. And now that Matisse has got that fabricator coming up here, he is catching up on the metal, but I've got some idle bombers for some reason that could be taking out that fabricator. Oh, there they go. Yeah, and that didn't make much difference because that metal extractor didn't get finished. If I'd waited a couple more seconds, then these fighters would have got in and killed that. And now you can see here, this is the point really where the game starts to turn around. He starts killing my metal extractors here at the back, and he starts building metal extractors of his own, so I start losing out on the mechs side of things. And once your metal extractors are getting destroyed on this kind of scale, where it's your only expansion, your fabricator from that expansion is dying, then you know that you are really in big trouble. Because if you think about the time that it took for my fabricator to move from my base right up to here and build these metal extractors, that is a really big loss that just died. And Matisse has now got a second fabricator coming out and going to be building up more metal extractors that I'm probably not going to notice. So you can see now we're equal on metal after he's killed these two. So he's really starting to, expand around the back here as well. And he's got a lot of fighters to protect from these bombing raids that I'm doing, and he's got 2 fabricators here. So that metal is going to go up really fast. He's really going to overtake me on metal here. And once you overtake them on metal, that means that you can overtake them on unit count very, very easily. And especially as still the majority of my forces are docks, I'm really at a big disadvantage here. Let's go a bit faster. Nothing much happens here. And you can see I am negative metal massively. I've been going down to 60%, 50%, and I'm still losing more metal extractors. Now I've only got 1 metal extractor that isn't inside my triangle, whereas Matisse has got all of that area and a lot of metal extractors down here and these 2 here. So he's definitely winning on the metal side of things. I've got an idle air factory there. Come on, put something on that air factory. As you can see in this game, I went much more heavy fighter than I normally would. And after this game, Matisse actually said something when I commented on how many tanks he had, and he said that the tanks are really good in this patch, and I know that they are. But what he said was that they are much more reliable than bombers, and that is a really good point. Like bombers, if your opponent is only building fighters, then your bombers are useless. But tanks are always good because they counter the docks. So my docks were fairly useless against his tanks, and they can kill other tanks if your opponent has gone heavy air. So really, going heavy tanks is just the only option, and heavy tanks and heavy fighters in this current patch is really the best option to go for. And now here, you can see I have got a big group of units, but there's a lot of docks in there, and the docks aren't going to do anything to these tanks that he's got. What I should really have done here is realise how many metal extractors he has down here. Like, he's got over twice the amount of metal that I do, so I should have switched up my attack and went in for taking out these metal extractors and maybe even getting into the back of his base around this massive blob of tanks that he has. But at this point I was too concentrated on defending, as you can see. And this one bomber that I've got, maybe two bombers, they just can't do anything against these tanks really. There just isn't enough of them. And now he starts to move in with his other tanks there, and it starts to be obvious that this is not going my way at all. He's got way more than twice my metal, almost twice my energy, a couple more factories than I do, and obviously his efficiency is 100% to my 40% efficiency, so things are not looking good. And energy plants are getting destroyed. At this point I realised this is GG, so I just walked my commander right into his tanks, and it's over. And he did it with an idle commander for quite a lot of the game. God damn it, Matisse. Right, yeah, the commander's going down, and there he goes. In that beautiful purple explosion. Actually, I won't put that as the thumbnail, that would be a bit of a spoiler run. Let's get that. Right, so, that is the first video, I think the first video that we uploaded to this channel. One actually just with me in, because the guy I've been making this channel with isn't on at the moment, and this was just a cast of my game anyway, so I wouldn't have much benefited from that. But yeah, there will be lots more videos with the two of us in the future, hopefully, so hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one.